Okay, now I'm sharing my screen. We'll get going here. Let me begin the presentation. For those of you that haven't been a part of this in the past, this is a webinar series that we're doing. My name is Doug Evans. Not David, I'm Doug Evans with SDS2, Vice President of North America. David?
I am David Zapka, Western Territory Manager for SDS2.
Tyler Hicks, nice to see everybody.
Nate Block, Technical Advisor, Steel.
So like I said, this is a webinar series that we've done. This is the third in the series where we're using just a connected project workflow, kind of taking a lot of things that can happen in a project and show how you can take SDS2 and SDS2 Edge, put them together and use it to solve the problem. So let me start the presentation here from the beginning. Connected project workflow, we're taking the viewpoint this time as a subcontract steel detailer. And we're going to do it again using it powered by SDS2 Edge. So as something comes up in a project, how do we deal with it, looking at it from the detailer standpoint? So what is the connected project workflow? Just to review it, it's really live model interaction by multiple internal and external stakeholders. You can access information, you can update information, and allows you to make informed decisions from anywhere, anytime, and that's really better decisions quicker. And we'll show you why that better decisions happens. The things that allow this to happen, obviously, is SDS2 is a product that allows live networking on a network. So you lock the data. You don't just lock members. You don't check out a model and check it back in like some tools, but you actually work live with the people that are logged into the model and SDS2 Edge. And so the more people that you have on a platform, whether it's an intranetwork or a cloud-based solution, the more powerful your implementation of the product, plus the more powerful the product really becomes, because then you can scale up and down your staff. So really having as many people on one cloud there's a huge benefit into that. And so who can use this and who are the stakeholders, or really anybody in a project? Engineers can use it for a multiple of reasons. They can use it for approval. They can use it for just tracking schedules. Project managers can deal with subs. Detailers obviously can use it. They can maybe work internally in their office. They may be able to scale up their staff if they're behind on the project. If they have a large project, they need to go from 3 and 5 people to 7 and 10. You can do that with people not just in your physical location. Fabricators can use it. For multiple reasons, logging into a project in a different place, and erectors obviously are on site. So being able to get access to real current information at the fabricator's location would benefit them instead of getting a roll of drawings once a week or whatever. And so really the thought behind this series has been project collaboration made easy. Teams need to collaborate in real time with live data. Collaborating with outdated data or with drawings isn't as powerful as being able to get information real time with multiple stakeholders at the same time. So examples could be, and things we'll cover today, field issues. How to identify and resolve them. What are some of the features you can use? Model notes and status. And again, you can use SDS2 Edge chat features, things like that. Handrail modifications, fabrication questions. These are some things we can show that all logged in on the model, you can do issue resolve with things. And so we really do believe that the key is live 3D model collaboration. As software developers and as customers, we've all been really, really good at in the construction industry of making the process faster. How can I get 2 and 5% faster? But we haven't done a lot of is just changing the process. We get faster horses, but we don't go to cars. And so how do we get from point A to point B in a different method? And so really, we think it's live 3D collaboration, not taking 3D information, dropping it down to a document, 2D, an email, a drawing, or whatever, shooting it over to someone to have them interpret it, and then shoot it back to me. What we're saying is let's all work in a live 3D space on a platform like SDS2 Edge that allows us to solve the problem together real time. So what we're saying is you can start refining your process right now with SDS2 at the center, and you can make SDS2 where more than one user in your company, more than one department in your company, and then more than one company and your partners can all communicate together through this tool using a tool like SDS2 Edge. So with that, that's kind of the backdrop of the discussion and where we think it's valuable. Let's jump into SDS2 Edge here real quick. So I have David, Tyler, and Nate all logged into Edge. We're all in different, let's say different, we could be in different cities, different states, different offices in the same city. And I'm going to jump into the model real quickly. And the last presentation we gave, Nate was like an erector, and he said, hey, I got to schedule what I'm going to do in 2 weeks, what I'm going to do in 3 weeks, and I got to see where the fabricators kind of add on stuff, and I'm going to run to the site and see if there's any problems, issues, maybe lay down stuff like that. And so I'm going to turn it over to Nate. I'm going to go ahead and load the last status we had, which was called webinar status, and turn it on. And what this tells me then, if I hit my legend, is that the yellow stuff you can see is fabrication complete. The green is released. The orange and the red are in different stages. So I'm going to turn it over to Nate, and he can kind of explain how he was planning his site.
So yeah, as the erector, I'm staying connected. I'm paying attention to the statuses of my steel when they're going to be on site, and I'm trying to lay everything out. So I go out to the job site, and I happen to notice that two of my columns, that the anchor bolts have been set 90 degrees. They've been rotated incorrectly. The guy flipped his template around. It's a common mistake. It happens. So the best thing I can do is to go into my model, and I'm going to find those exact columns, those locations, and I'm going to simply add a model note just stating exactly what the issue is, and it's going to be in the exact locations. And that way, my detailer and anybody else in my team that's connected in the model knows exactly what's going on just by simply seeing those model notes. And I'll do that right now.
And so what I, as maybe a fabricator, am logged into the model. And again, Nate, as an erector, will be logged into the model as well. We're both connected using Edge. And then I also have Tyler, let's say, who is the detailer on this. So Tyler, as Nate's out checking the field measurements, what would you be doing maybe?
Well, I'm going through here and I was just adding some handrail in real quick, seeing what's going on with that, continuing with the process. Some fabricators, if you're subbing that stuff out, maybe somebody else is working on it. You can, they can kind of coordinate a little bit better that way. And once I see this, as I'm detailing away, I see these notes show up, and I'm going to go check those out. So if I come down here and I see the issue of what's going on, all right, so we've got some issue with how the anchor rods were thrown in. So, at this stage, it's the approval stage. So I've got some changes that I can make. One, it's really nice to know that this isn't in the shop already. It's not on a truck going out to the field. I kind of know where I'm at in this project and what kind of fix I can go with it. So, easy thing, I could either go in and I can rotate the base plates, submit that for approval again to the engineer, or, I can come in here, just for the sake of this argument, I'll just rotate the columns around. So by being able to see at what stage the project the steel's at, I can make a quicker decision on how I want to handle it, because everything's handled differently depending on what stage you're at. So now I can do this, I can make the update to those columns, and now I'm just going to submit those for approval. So if I come in here and update the status here.
And while Tyler's doing that, again, remember, I'm the fabricator, and so I'm seeing these changes in a different location. So maybe I was checking why the things were red, and as Tyler's making these comments, he's applying a different status to it, saying, hey, now they've turned, I've got these model notes, but they've turned orange. And so I see, okay, orange, I look over here, those are being submitted for approval again. So maybe I'm a project manager fabricator, and I say, hey, shoot David an email. So David, in this case, you might be an approving engineer. So what would you be doing? You're logged into the model. Kind of maybe explain your workflow. David?
So this will be something we dive into a little bit deeper in our next part, but just high level. You know, I can go into the model, I can read these notes as well. I can see the same status, the same colors, so that that alerts me that Tyler, as the detailer, has submitted something for approval, and then I can go in, verify all the grades, you know, section sizes, connections, all that. This change where we rotated the columns 90 degrees, maybe I got to do some work on my end and reapprove that as well. But then I can also do the same updates from here, so that when I do all these checks and I do approve all this information, I can set that whether there's additional notes, revise and resubmit. In this case, I'm going to go ahead and update that just to go ahead and approve a portion of that building. I'm just kind of doing half of it right now. And then we should see that update on Doug's end as well. So everything is now approved.
Yep.
And there we see our color update to indicate back to Tyler, communicate that information back downstream again.
And so if we look at, again, the connected project workflow concept and as customers and potential customers, how we can use it to benefit us and how I can communicate using this tool, both in a cloud environment and just using the powerfulness of the tool. This was a simple example that could happen as the base plates were poured 90 degrees wrong, and I need to resolve it. So if you look at the workflow that you do now, hey, let's get an email, document it, ask for what we can do, versus maybe proposing a changes with the automated connection design with SDS2, and then having all the stakeholders of the project be able to log in live right now and look, hey, does this work? Is this okay? And getting approvals very quickly, kind of following as I detail. You can see how much that's really changed the process, the workflow of getting structures built in steel. If we can get the entire project together on a platform like this. And so that's really from a detailer's perspective, how we can do that, how you can use status. And the more people that we get on a single platform, the more powerful that platform becomes. So that's the other thing, because you have erectors and fabricators and project managers along as detailers. If I have 3 in my company doing the structural, and maybe I have 4 in another company that are doing handrail or maybe other phases of the building, we all can continue to work in that one working environment for coordination. And it saves so much time in trying to match piece marks and stuff like that, working in the same model. So that's the presentation for today. Would love to, let's get out of Edge here real quickly. And run back, that's us again. So just in review, SDS2 Edge provides a connected worldwide platform for customers to collaborate live in the model. We can communicate internally and externally using the model, which saves project time, and that increases profits. And the connected project workflow, which is what we're talking about, keeps you at the front of the industry and keeps you relevant with your suppliers and people that are going to hire you to do your work. So any questions right now? That's the presentation. Would love to kind of go over questions that you might have. Go ahead and put them on in the chat. I'm going to keep my screen down so you can see this. And David, you grab the questions if they come.
Yep. So yeah, there's that little questions pane if you guys want to throw it in there. There is a question here on the cost of an engineering station. You know, typically cost, I would say best to contact your sales rep and discuss that directly with your sales rep, whoever that may be, or shoot us an email if you like. So let's see, they're starting to come here. So how does it work with the subcontract detailers then, Doug? If one detailer in a location is using or detailing the structural, and then we got another detailer that is in another location, but he's doing miscellaneous, rail, stairs, all that miscellaneous stuff. How does that work, and how do we get those two detailers connected on the same project for that easier coordination?
So excellent question. And that's one of the powerful things of the SDS2 Edge platform that we provide, is that it is not uncommon for a fabricator to have, let's say, 2, 3, or 4 licenses, but maybe get a big project or want to do part of that project externally, maybe the secondary steel, or then again, maybe a phase. So if both the external subcontract detailer and the fabricator are on Edge, SDS2 Edge, you basically map a drive and then you join, and that's where your job repository is. So everything that's done in that project then is done live and can be seen both in Nebraska and Texas, or wherever the companies are, at the same time live, as if you were sitting next to each other, just like we did in this demonstration. So it allows you to ramp up the size of your detailing department very quickly. And again, the more people on that platform, the more powerful it is. As a subcontract detailer, you can advertise your services through that. Hey, I can jump in and be part of your network very quickly.
Very good. Okay, so we got some more questions here. So there's a couple questions here that are kind of related, and it has to do with, mostly to do with internet connections and things like that. So specifically, if I use Edge and I'm working on Edge, is it going to be as fast working from home as it would be from working in the office?
You want to try that one, Tyler?
Yeah, so with working on Edge, whether you're at home or at the office, and we've all got to kind of experience this with varying degrees of download speed, upload speed over the last couple months. I didn't notice that much of a lag on the projects I was working on, going from the office to home. I'm sure there's probably maybe, a half second, something like that difference, just because you are, not right next to you, but the people all tied in. But as far as the way it used to be 10 years ago, when, VPNs and things like that, you're not going to experience, a 5 to 10 second wait when you're doing something.
And that's interesting, Tyler, because a collateral benefit of trying to show people what the functionality of this is this is the first time we're all in an office with high bandwidth.
Yeah.
And so if you just go look at the last couple webinars that we did, this is the exact same model, and we were all in different parts. Nate and I were using satellite internet, and so those are a lot slower. So you want to just test the speed, you can go watch those videos and see the exact difference.
Yeah, and just to add to that, I did get some more specific numbers on some of that from the technical guys. So generally speaking, the latency is usually what affects you the most, and they're telling me, I'm thinking if you get up above like the 200 range with your latency is when you might start to see a little bit of issues. But like at home on my DSL internet connection, I ran some tests just using a free tool on the internet, and it was anywhere from typically like 15 to 30 for my latency. So that's DSL, that's not great internet. So it's typically not an issue. The other question is about the licensing and our HASP that we currently require for the licensing. Do we need a separate dongle for that? If we're using this in the office and at home, we need a separate dongle, or how's that all work?
Go ahead, David.
So of course you want me to answer that one. Now, easy one. So basically what we do is we actually host the licensing for you at this point. So really, if you throw everything up on Edge and you no longer have the need for that local license, we just host all that for you. We'll keep that upgraded appropriately for you, so you don't have to have an IT person or somebody else in the office always worrying about when to upgrade that license and taking the time to do that. We maintain that for you. So part of the cost in that is some of the services that we provide like that. So sorry, my questions are kind of getting jumbled up here. Another question here, I'll throw you to Tyler. So it was specifically addressed to Tyler. What kind of internet connection? Well, everybody can go through, I suppose. Tyler, what kind of internet connection do you have at home?
At home, I actually had a pretty decent. I had the Allo fiber.
Which is what
Allo
speed?
fiber. So what
So
speed? Yeah.
we're looking at, geez, I mean, probably 100.
Okay, for the download speed.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Nate, what do you have for internet connection?
Like Doug mentioned, we're kind of out in the boonies here, and so we're beaming in from a satellite or something. I don't know, but I had the most basic package because I'm cheap like that, and I think I averages, it's packaged at like 25 megs, and it surprised me. It did just fine. I had no issues, no complaints here.
And Nate said we're on the same supplier, but I live further out in the boonies than he does. So at times I was getting 12, upwards to 25, but I'd be running in that 12 to 25 range. And you guys can see the results on those webinars. So it's just fine.
And mine's DSL, probably comparable to that. It's up to 25 meg, but in reality, it was typically more like 12 to 15 most of the time, and I didn't have any issues. So, so what kind of internet? So here's a question, good one here. When using contract workers, do they have access to all of my projects and directories, or do they have access to just certain projects or just certain directories?
So what you do there is create basically a letter drive for certain projects. So if there's a project that I want to coordinate with an external company, I would create a letter S, letter L, whatever drive, and I would map it to it. If there's only certain projects that I want them to access to, I would only put those projects on that drive. Other projects that I don't want them access to, even if they're on the project, I would put them in another drive.
So, and that again is kind of something I believe that we would do for you. You'd have to just let us know who it is you're working with, what projects you're working on them with, and we create that shared directory for you. I believe we may even have to have some sort of written agreement just to protect everybody's information, things like that. So. So another question is it necessary for SDS2 Edge to align with the latest Windows update? Again, we're hosting all of this. We're kind of taking care of the background, the technical side of things, kind of acting as IT for you. So if there's updates, different things like that need to be done, we take care of that here to make sure that everything's running smoothly, properly for you, and that you're getting everything you need. So another question here, maybe Tyler, take a stab here. In our situation, we use in-house detailers and international detailers. So would there be any issues for both of them to work in the same project?
No, I don't think so, because we have people doing that already right now. I can't, they're logging in, they're hitting the server, and they're going. So that should work out just fine.
Again, it goes back to that. As long as you kind of have a decent internet connection and the latency is not bad, then there should be no issues.
This may not be popular, but as a fabricator that would be hiring external detailers, it would make a lot of sense to have, especially if it's international, to have them on Edge, just to save the time and sending the drawings. I could at any point in time log in and see where my project is. And so maybe I lose that a day or two of saying, yeah, it's finished, let me just package it up and send it to you, where I could just log on at any point in time. So it gives the fabricator more control over where things are at, and saying, hey, it looks like they're on pace, and so I can schedule my fabrication.
Well, to piggyback on that, Doug, if you don't mind. So like as a former project manager, I know that you need access to information at all times, and you can only do so much with it as you get it, as you receive it. And having everyone tied into the same model allows everyone to have all that information. And, a fabricator may not want, you may not be a priority for him. And if you don't provide him all the information he needs at a given time, he has other jobs, he has other work to do. And if he can work on other things and wash his hands of everything that he's, needed from you, or he's waiting on you, he's going to go ahead and work on other stuff. And having Edge or being tied in and everyone in the same model having that access just kind of keeps your project the priority, is really what the key focus there is.
Yeah, that's a good point, Nate, is that if it takes longer to resolve your questions and RFIs and issues, then your project's just not getting worked on. So as a contractor, as an approving engineer, you may want to ensure that you keep your project on the top of the list.
So another thing to think about there is license compliance or pirating. So that's always a big topic of discussion, especially with detailers in the States here. If you're working with somebody that is on Edge, they're going to be compliant in their licenses because that's all handled by us internally in-house. So another benefit of being on the Edge. Another question here is what happens if your internet goes down?
Well, if you lose connection, you lose connection. I mean, that would be a negative. Since it's a cloud-based solution and it's virtualized in the cloud, if you can't access that, then you can't get into SDS2.
So the benefit to that, however, is that when your internet comes back up, you leave off just exactly where you were, because if you're losing connection or you lose power, whatever it may be, if you're in Utah, that's not really affecting us here where our servers are hosted. So as soon as you're able to get back in there and log back into Edge, looks just as it did before you lost that connection. So questions on cost, I would encourage you, questions on cost, to reach out to your sales rep. Everybody's situation's a little bit different and different things. So we have different levels, different tiers of what you may need. So it's best to have a conversation with your sales rep, figure out what tier is best for you to get cost information. And another question here, good question, is about security. So is Edge ITAR compliant? It's a level of security. So we are ITAR compliant. That usually comes into play when you're working on some high level government type projects. So if anybody's seen that as requirements or shied away from that because of those security requirements, Edge is going to be compliant already. If you're on there, you can maybe have the potential to go after some projects that you may not have in the past.
Running into the 30-minute mark. Want to take one or two more?
So here's a good one about hotel room. So must be somebody who travels quite a bit. Am I able to run this if I'm traveling, if I'm sitting in a hotel room or airport, something like that? Am I able to do that?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's one of the values and benefits of it. Not only you're able to access the model, but you're just like you would be logged into the network. So, and on top of that, you don't need a supercomputer to access it. Any product or any computer that you can get to the internet allows you to access the speeds of wherever you're at. So as long as you have a mouse or something that allows you to run the user interface, then you're running at the speeds that your internet speed allows. So yeah, I've done it many places.
So you can also just access through a web browser. We're all running a VMware to access Edge here, but it can be done through a web browser as well.
Mm-hmm.
So another question here is on design drawings. So, you know, how do we use design drawings alongside SDS2? Is there a way to do that within Edge? Yeah, so absolutely. We'll install whatever programs you need. That's kind of part of the onboarding process when you decide you want to go to Edge. We'll work with you, put out questionnaires, phone calls to figure out what programs you need installed on there. That could be Bluebeam, that could be StruMIS, Revit, about anything you can think of, we can run from Edge. And yeah, that's just part of the onboarding process to figure out what you need installed in there. So.
Why don't you grab one more and then we'll wrap this up.
One more. So, so how about this? Could a detailer themselves own or maintain a seat of Edge for the fabricator or contractor in order for that fabricator or contractor to have access to the SDS2 model and all that live information?
Certainly. So that's one of the things that the more aggressive and fabricators and detailers will be doing is to allow for that. It's a username and a password login. So if you give out a username and password, that person with that username and password can log into the cloud. So if you had an extra username and password, you know, partner one kind of concept, then they can access that, certainly.
Very good.
So thanks again. This is the third in a series of demonstrations, which we call the Connected Project Workflow. We'll be having a couple more coming up. Tune in. I appreciate the time you guys had, and I hope we provided some value to you. Take care and stay safe, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.
See you next time.